Now let us try to touch base on this ecosystem technologies at a very high level. Now let me tell you one thing, or let me ask you one thing. What is the processing unit used in the Hadoop core? Now everyone knows it is MapReduce. Now what is the kind of code we have to write for MapReduce? In which language we need to write? Or in which programming language we need to write? So the code written for MapReduce is mostly in Java language. And Java is not something which everyone is familiar with. Most of you might not be aware of Java. If you do not know Java, does that mean you should not be able to work on Hadoop? No, absolutely not. It does not mean that. Hadoop should be open to other people also who do not know Java. And that is where Hive comes for the rescue. Hive says that, boss, okay, no worries if you do not know Java. If you do not know Java, at least you might be aware of SQL. Is there a way that you can write SQL and I can convert it to the hard written MapReduce code internally? That means Hive is nothing but a wrapper on top of MapReduce. You write the code in SQL style, which you are very familiar with, and Hive internally will convert it to Java MapReduce code and trigger it on the cluster. That means all the complexity of traditional MapReduce is hidden from you. You do not see it as MapReduce, but internally it will happen in the MapReduce. So what Hive says that you write the code in SQL style and I will convert it to MapReduce code and I will execute the job on cluster so that all the complexities will be hidden from you. I will do the hard part and you do the simpler part. So Hive is very, very important and is something very crucial in this entire course. A lot of companies ask many questions on Hive and they ask a lot of things like what is partitioning in Hive, what is bucketing, what is map side join, what is bucket map join, what is SMB, what is vectorization, what is file formats, how to create your Hive own UDF. A lot of things will come in Hive which are very, very important. So Hive is something which is very, very important, but for now what you should know is it is more like SQL and you will be able to query your data in a very graceful way. Now you understood Hive. And one more point I want to convey is Hive was developed by Facebook. If you are curious to know, Hive is developed by Facebook, right? So in our Hive lecture, we will cover Hive in a lot of detail. I mean, there won't be anything which is left untouched. That's how the depth will be. Now, having understood about Hive, so remember one thing, I said underneath Hive jobs are MapReduce. If you feel that you want to do it in Java code, you can feel free. But think that who will write 200 complex lines of Java code when you can do it with one single line of SQL? Even if you are a hardcore Java developer, you will say, okay, why not I write simple SQL kind of query and do it? And remember, till now I was saying SQL. It is actually not SQL, it is HQL, which stands for Hive Query Language. And it is very similar to SQL. If you know SQL, think that you know HQL. That's how similar it is. But technically it is called as HQL, Hive Query Language. Okay, so we have covered Hive to some extent. Let's talk about Scoop now. So basically, what is Scoop? Now, I always try to give it with this example that let's say when you go to ice cream shop, you say, give me one scoop of ice cream. They take the, scoop from the container and then they put it on the cone. That means they transfer this ice cream, right? So think scoop is to transfer. Remember this, scoop is to transfer. And what it transfers data from your traditional databases to your Hadoop environment. That means, let's say today you have some data in your Oracle database or you have some data in your MySQL database and you want to get it to your HDFS. How will you get it? Using scoop commands. Let me go back to this scoop. So a command line interface application for transferring data between relational databases and Hadoop. That means if your data is in MySQL or if your data is in Oracle or any other database and you want to bring it to Hadoop, or if you want to bring it to HDFS, because when we say Hadoop, where is the data kept? It is in HDFS. So a scoop is to transfer data from traditional databases to HDFS. And even you can do it vice versa. That means if your data is in HDFS and you want to send it to databases, you can do that also. So it is a command line interface to do these things. And it's very easy, but very, very important again from industry perspective. So scoop is for data ingestion or data migration. You can think it this way, right? So you have understood Hive. What is Hive? Hive is nothing but to query your data on HDFS, right? Rather than writing complex MapReduce, you want to do it using Hive, right? Because you are more comfortable with SQL. Scoop is for data ingestion from databases to HDFS. Now, what is pig? You need to understand this. Before telling this, let me tell you, pig is not something which is important now. In today's world, not most of the companies use scoop. So scoop is, sorry. So in today's world, not most of the companies use pig. Pig is not something which is important. So basically, pig earlier was there to solve two major purposes. The two major purpose that pig used to solve is, let me just make a note here. So pig used to solve two purposes. One is to clean the data, and second purpose for pig was to convert structured data to convert unstructured data into structured. Even though pig is not important, I want to give you an idea about what pig was doing earlier. So you remember in the very first slide we said the fourth V was veracity. That means data might be unclean. Then you require a ETL kind of utility or tool to clean the data. So pig tried to clean the data or is like a ETL using some scripting language. And the scripting language is nothing but pig Latin. This is the name of scripting language. So we used to write scripts in this pig Latin language, and we used to clean the data. And this is nothing but a ETL utility using scripting. Also, we used to convert unstructured data to structured form. For example, let's say you are getting some web server logs. Now, web server logs, do not have any structure. But technically, if you open the file, the first column is an IP address. After that, there is a space, then there is some what kind of request it is. Like it can be something like IP, then after that kind of request, right? And then after that date, and then there is some tab, after that something. Technically, you know the structure when you open the file. Then if you can write the same thing in the script, then you can create a table from this kind of data, right? That means you can convert this kind of unstructured data into a table. So converting unstructured data into structured form. So you can have a look. A scripting language for data manipulation also transforms unstructured data into structured form. Now let me ask you a question. Is Pig internally a MapReduce? We said Hive internally is a MapReduce. Is Pig also a MapReduce? Yes, definitely. Pig is also a MapReduce underneath. It is an abstraction of MapReduce. That means if you want to do the same things using MapReduce Java code, you can do that. But who will write 2000 lines of Java code when you can do it with 5 or 6 lines of Pig script? Think it this way. So this makes life easy for a developer. So Hive, Pig, Scoop, all these things makes life easy for a developer because you are able to do it in a quicker time using much more lesser code and all. So by the way, let me tell you, the demand of Pig is almost zero in today's industry. You might have a question in mind. Then if Pig is not used today, then how are we doing these two things? How are we doing these two things which we were doing using Pig? The answer is these two things are now done mostly using Apache Spark. We'll talk about it later, but remember that Apache Spark will do your data cleaning, and Apache Spark will also help you to convert unstructured data into structured. Pig is kind of not used. Now, if I ask you what is Spark, you might frame a definition saying Spark is a replacement of Pig. But this will be a wrong definition because Spark is not just these two things. Spark can do hundreds of other things also. So you cannot yet form a definition of Spark. But I can definitely say whatever we were doing using Pig, Spark can easily do that. Plus, Spark can do a lot of other things also, which we will talk about later. So we talked about Hive, we talked about Pig. Hive is nothing but querying of data in SQL-like format when you do not want to write MapReduce. Pig is nothing to clean the data and convert unstructured data to structured form, mostly not used these days, and Spark can do these things. Now, Scoop, as I said, is for data ingestion. If you have your data in traditional databases and you want to bring this data to HDFS, you can write Scoop commands to do that. Now let me ask you again a question. Is Scoop also MapReduce? We understood Hive was MapReduce internally, Pig was MapReduce internally. Is Scoop also MapReduce? So the answer is yes. Scoop is also a MapReduce job. Scoop is also a MapReduce job. And this is a special MapReduce job. As of now, whatever I'm thinking, I'm telling you, but if you, I mean, just try to make a note of it for now. So Scoop is a special MapReduce job where only mappers work, right? It is a special MapReduce job where only mappers work. As of now, since I have not explained you what is map and what is reduce, you might not understand, but it is worth to take down this line that only mappers will come into play. There is no role of a reducer. And you will understand this later when we understand what is map and what is reduce. So Hive is a MapReduce, Pig is a MapReduce, even Scoop is a MapReduce, but it is special in the sense only map will work, reduce won't. So Scoop is for data ingestion, getting the data from databases to your Hadoop environment. Now, what is HBase? I won't talk much about it because the context is not set. However, I will just tell for now is HBase is a column-oriented NoSQL database. You might have heard of MongoDB. Let me relate it with MongoDB. MongoDB is a NoSQL database, right? Similarly, HBase is also a NoSQL database, which runs on top of Hadoop. I won't tell more for now because as of now, we have not set the context, right? So I won't talk more. We will discuss on this later in a much more depth. But for now, what you should know is HBase is a NoSQL database which runs on top of Hadoop.